I'm Kelsey,
And I'm Lindsay.
and this is What Makes You Fangirl, the podcast where we deep dive into all things One Direction and unpack the moments that turned us into lifelong fangirls.
Throughout the series, we've followed One Direction from their X Factor beginnings to global superstardom, revisiting the albums, the chaos, and the moments that meant everything to us growing up in a nostalgic rewind for anyone who's ever loved something a little too much.
Before we dive in, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening right now so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on Instagram at What Makes You Fangirl and on TikTok at WMYF Podcast for clips, updates, and bonus content.
Last season, we followed One Direction through their rise, their peak, all the way to the beginning of the end, including Zayn's departure from the band and the fallout that followed.
And now in season 2, we're picking up right where that left off, stepping into what happens after One Direction. The solo careers, the reinventions, the new music, the new relationships, and the different paths each of them took.
And we figured there was no better place to start than the first one to leave, which was Zayn.
That's right. We're talking about his immediate post-1D era, the Image reinvention, and his debut solo album, Mind of Mine.
From the shaved head to Pillow Talk to the Met Gala moment that cemented his new identity, this is where Zayn becomes something completely different from the boy band member we met all those years ago.
So buckle up because this is the start of the solo eras. But before we get into it, let's kick things off with what makes you fangirl this week.
As a reminder, in each episode, we'll share something that made us fangirl recently. It could be a song, a show, a movie, a celebrity moment, or just anything that got us excited.
Think of it as a little dose of joy, nostalgia, or chaos to start things off. So, what is making you fangirl this week, Lindsay?
I mean, there's always so much. I feel like I need to recap Joshua Bassett because we talked about this before it happened and we haven't talked about it since. I'd like to mention the Joshua Bassett rookie event that I attended, / just the rookie book in general. So, as a quick recap for the listeners, Joshua Bassett recently released his biography type book. It's hard to describe. I feel like it's a biography, but it's like written in the style of like kind of poems and like little anecdotes, and there's like song lyrics. Hold on, I have it right here. It's on my table. Wow.
So pretty.
Here it is. My Public, Private, and Secret Life, Rookie by Joshua Taylor Bassett. Would recommend. I'm actually not done with it yet though, so don't tell him. I got the book at his New York City event, which you can tell he's a new author because why did he sign it on this page and not the page with the title on it? I feel like this is normally where authors would sign. Or this side, but it's just here. But that's okay.
Fine. Everything's great. He did good.
That's okay. He did a good job. They were pre-signed, so at the event, I went like a little bit early to get in line. Not like super early, like an hour early to get in line. They let us in. It was a very chill event. Thank you, Barnes & Noble, for being so chill. And it was a really hot day here, so I'm glad that it was like inside and like the line was inside. So AC, amazing. They let us sit down like early, like, you know, open doors early, and we got to like sit. So in the period while we were waiting for it to actually start, I started reading it because I was like, why not? What a good way to kill the time is to have this book right in front of me. So read a little bit of it. It's very good so far. And then he came out and he had like little anecdotes where he would like read passages from it. He would give a little background on it. He sang some songs, like it was interwoven with his like conversations about the book. He would sing some of the songs that were relevant to those like periods of his life. It was very emotional, actually. Like he's just very like for his age, he's what, 25, 26?
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere
he's a
around
little
there.
bit younger than we are.
He's younger than we are. He's very like emotionally mature for his age. And he has been through a lot, and that's a whole separate topic that maybe we'll one day do an episode on the love triangle of that. But he's been through a lot, and the fact that he's come out of it on the other side very like emotionally grown is, I feel like it says a lot about his character.
Oh yeah, and absolutely.
He gets a lot of grief online, still does, and
it's honestly really heartbreaking to watch.
It's heartbreaking.
It's so nasty. Like
people can be so mean online.
It's awful.
And he's genuinely
precious
like
little guy. I love him.
A good person.
Literally.
Because even like no matter what you think about the love triangle situation, like it is written in the historical textbooks that he did not cheat on her. And they
Yeah.
were also like 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, they
like,
were literally teenagers. If any
everyone
of us was
does weird
yeah.
things when they're a teenager. Like, you can't hold that against them.
Yeah.
So
So
I think all three involved parties are innocent in this story.
I would agree with that statement.
And he's an amazing person, and it's a very emotional book. I cried. I didn't like shed tears, but I like teared up during him like talking about it. Especially there's a part where he talks about trigger warning, suicidal ideation, and it was very emotional watching him talk about that. But anyway, very good, very talented. The book is really good, at least what I've read so far. And then after we got to like everyone who was at the event got to meet him, and he's so nice. And I just
So cute.
like he's so nice. I talked about the podcast because what else would I talk about?
Actually, yeah.
Like I didn't know what else to say to him like other than you're amazing. And also to be fair, I like in my head thought maybe I could bring it up, but I wasn't like going to force it. But then he asked me a question about like what I thought about the book. And then I was discussing how there's like a part that I had read while waiting for him where he's talking about like invisible barriers that you create for yourself and like how you just have to like get over that fear and just like do life.
Yep.
And I was like, I really like felt that this year because I feel like this year I've been trying to embody that. Example,
we started this podcast.
I started a podcast with my friend, and he was like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And I was like, "Yes, I have a pop culture podcast." And then we took our little photo, which we'll insert here somewhere, and we'll also insert the clip because I have the audio recording. Because I once again am a genius, and I recorded it on my Apple Watch while they were like taking the photos, which I had it screen recording while she had the camera open. So I'm just a genius in general. And he like, after we took our photo, he was like, "What's your podcast called?" And I said, "What Makes You Fangirl?" So he knows what the podcast is called.
He did say he would come on too.
And yeah, he like said, well, he said maybe, but like, you know, because I was like, we've talked about Rookie because we did talk about Rookie and we're talking about it now again. And he was like, I was like, so if you want to come on, you're welcome to. And he was like, maybe I'll do that. I was reading it a little bit while we were waiting. Okay. And it's so good.
Any favorite parts yet?
I love the part, I only got like 40 pages in so far. Sure. But I love the part where you're talking about the invisible barriers you create for yourself and you can't let fear stop you. 100%, and this year I've kind of been on that. I started a podcast with my friends. So I was like, you said like obsession, not obligation. And I was like, now I have a pop culture podcast.
There you go. I love it.
If you ever want to be on it.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
What makes you fangirl? Okay, I'll check it out. No way. Okay, well maybe I'll go on.
We can interview you.
Okay.
So Josh,
and then
this is our formal invitation.
Yeah, formal invitation. Please come on. We'll dedicate a whole episode to you and your book and your music and anything else you want to talk about. And then after the event, because that wasn't it, he also had posted on his Instagram story that he was like, after the Barnes & Noble event, meet me outside. And I was like, so there's more. So after the event, we're outside in like Union Square, outside the Barnes & Noble. And he like comes out with his little guitar and he just starts singing songs. He sang like some throwback songs. He sang part of Baby by Justin Bieber. He sang that one from, now I'm forgetting the title, the one from High School Musical, Just for a Moment.
Yeah, there we go.
So it was very good. And I was like so close to him. Like somehow when he initially came out, I got into like the circle that was like right around him and he was right in front of me. And I FaceTimed
when you FaceTimed me, it was a jump scare because I was literally right in front of my face and I was like, oh my God. Hey. There's also a photo of us.
Yeah, someone else across the circle who was filming and like posted it online. You can see because I flipped the camera around so that if he looked, he would see your face too. Yeah. So I was like this, and then someone took a photo, and it's a photo of Josh and me and Kelsey on my phone screen.
Which is great because I was supposed to experience this too, but I'm a good human being. I was sick, which if you watched the last episode, you could probably still kind of tell that I was very raspy. I lost my voice completely. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not gonna chance it. Yeah. Possibly get someone sick, especially Josh. Yeah.
Very kind of you.
Yeah, but I lived through you. It's fine.
Great experience. It was such a like chill, nice evening. And yeah, that was it. It was wonderful. What do you have this week?
I'm going to say Niall because he's, the album's about to come out. He just released on Friday, End of an Era.
And what do you think of the song?
Very emotional. I was driving to like pick my sister up from the airport, so I had to drive a long distance. And we listened to it on the way back bad decision. Don't listen to that for the first time while driving if you have not listened to it yet.
I haven't listened to it yet.
It's really, it's
sometimes
it's really hard.
when I'm about to listen to new music, I need to be in like the right
headspace.
This one of mind.
You
and
really
I
have to.
knew this one would like hurt, so I
Yeah.
wasn't ready for it. And it was funny too because I was listening to, I think I just had Niall on shuffle on Saturday or whenever that I was cleaning my apartment and I put Niall on shuffle. And it came on because it was like I didn't recognize it because I hadn't heard it yet. And I was like, skip, because I just like wasn't ready.
I made the mistake of listening to it.
And I still haven't heard it. Maybe I'll do it today.
Grab some tissues.
Yeah.
It's very emotional. And it's about Liam, for those that don't know. He's been very vocal and open about it being about Liam.
Yeah.
So, it's a very great song. Very emotional. I can only listen to it when I want to be emotional.
I know. I'm like, I feel like some of the girlies online are always like, we have to stream, but I'm like, I can't listen to that. Like,
I can't. Like, it will put me in such a dark place.
I want him to perform well in the charts, but like, I don't know that this is the one to be doing that with because it's just too much.
Yeah, and the same thing with Dark to Light by Louis. Like,
oh my god,
I can't do it. So
no, thank you.
Love the songs. They are incredible. They're emotional and they do what the song is supposed to do. Personally, I can't listen to it a lot or I will be depressed.
Did you see Niall yesterday or whenever that was when he performed at like Big Weekend in the UK and then when his car got like at the end when he got stranded on like the highway? Imagine you're driving past and Niall Horan's like standing on the side of the road. I'd be like, hey,
you want to get
a ride?
You need a ride?
You need a ride somewhere? You can get in.
Do you want me to fix your car? I can do it.
Anyway, Niall's performance was fabulous. His new song is fabulous.
Yep.
Not that I've heard it, but I'm sure it is.
It is. Well, and Dinner Party and
Dinner Party, a little more time.
Yes.
All bops. So very excited for Dinner Party, which comes out June 5th, which is literally in less than 2 weeks.
And he released tour dates for North America.
Right. Yeah. Which our plan is we're gonna do some of those shows together.
'Cause it's on my birthday, which is exciting.
Yeah, next.
Which will be we will have seen Niall on your birthday. And
because our plan is to do Phoenix and LA.
Yep.
We think. We don't have tickets yet, but we're gonna get them.
I'm not worried about it.
Me either.
Me
either. I did get tickets for his Brooklyn show as well here.
That's
that's
so interesting that he's not playing MSG again.
I know. I think so many artists are doing it. Olivia Rodrigo is playing Barclays, not MSG. I think Gracie Abrams is also doing that. Ariana Grande is doing Barclays, not MSG. I heard, I don't know if this is true, so no one hold me to this information. I heard that the artists make more money off of Barclays. Like, I think MSG is more expensive, so they get more in return at Barclays as opposed to MSG.
That makes sense.
But I'm not entirely sure if that's true. Niall's new stuff is coming, and we're very excited for it, so can't wait. He's also playing the Today Show on June 12th.
Yep.
Just the day before my birthday.
It sure is.
I hope I get a fan pass or somehow I'm present. Also, I'm manifesting other like
dinner party
events
activities
in New York City and I'm manifesting an invite for myself.
Also, he has to be doing one.
Okay, but like, what if he does the dinner party when I have 5 Sauce tickets?
Do you skip 5 Sauce?
Like, do I skip 5 Sauce? But then here's my other thought. What if he does the dinner party the Friday as well? Like he'll do Today Show in the morning, promo event Friday, that would be great for me. Yeah. And then he's a guest at 5 Sauce's show on my birthday.
That would be incredible.
That would be elite.
That would be that would be best case scenario, actually.
That would be the best case scenario, exactly, yeah. As long as I'm invited to the dinner party. If I'm not, then that will be a problem.
Because I didn't get invited, and I think that was really rude, actually.
Yeah, I think that was really rude, actually.
It's fine, though.
Anyway, that's it. We will chat dinner party more when it comes out.
Yes, we sure will.
That's what's making us fangirl this week. But let's get back into Mr. Zayn Malik.
Okay, so before we get into Zayn's solo era properly, we need to rewind just a little bit because everything starts here, March 25th, 2015, when Zayn officially leaves One Direction in the middle of the On the Road Again tour.
At the time, the official explanation was that he wanted to step away from the spotlight, deal with stress, and just live a more normal life as a 22-year-old.
And for a lot of fans, that was the first real shock because even though One Direction had been nonstop for years, at that point it still felt sudden, like the ground kind of shifted overnight because even though we knew Zayn had anxiety and issues with the spotlight, it felt like it came out of nowhere.
And just to be clear, we're not going super deep into the immediate fallout here because we covered that in season 1, so go check that out. But what matters is that this moment is really the starting point for everything that comes next.
Yep, because almost immediately you start to see Zayn stepping away from the band in every sense, not just physically, but visually, publicly, and emotionally too.
One of the biggest early signs of that shift was the public tension that followed, especially the fallout with Louis, which we also covered in season 1. So again, go check that out. But here's a very quick review.
Yep, this is where things got really messy online. There was the naughty boy situation, leaked music, and then that infamous moment where Zayn tweeted at Louis, "Remember when you had a life," and stopped making bitchy comments about mine.
And what made it even more intense was the fact that it was happening in real time, publicly, on Twitter, between two people who had just been in a band together, literally best friends.
Yep, and for fans, it was honestly shocking because it wasn't just a breakup of a band dynamic, it was seeing real, visible animosity unfold between the members.
And whether you were on one side or trying to understand both, it really cemented this idea that Zayn wasn't just leaving the band physically, he was emotionally separating himself from it too.
And that separation wasn't just happening in interviews or online drama, it was happening visually too.
Almost immediately after leaving, Zayn's entire image starts to shift. The shaved head, the nose piercing, the tattoos becoming even more visible, the darker, more streetwear heavy fashion choices.
It was a full visual reset, and at the time, fans and media were very aware of it. Every paparazzi photo felt like it was telling a story.
Yeah, he was suddenly being photographed in a completely different way, less polished, less boy band member, more edgy, more adult, more mysterious.
And looking back, it really feels like this is where the Zayn Malik rebrand begins in a very intentional way.
Because fans immediately clocked it as Zayn is no longer presenting himself as a One Direction member.
This wasn't just a style change, it was the beginning of a full identity shift.
And then not long after all this starts happening publicly, we get another major development. Zayn signs a solo deal with RCA Records.
And this is where things got a little confusing at the time for fans.
Because on one hand, the narrative had been that he left to slow down, to take a break from fame, and to live a normal life.
But on the other hand, he is now actively preparing to release solo music very quickly.
And I think what makes this interesting is that both things can actually be true at the same time. He likely was burned out. Schedule, the pressure, the lack of control, all of that was very real.
But he also clearly had a desire to create differently, to explore a sound and identity that didn't fit inside the One Direction framework.
And this is really where that bigger conversation starts about creative frustration, artistic control, and what it actually meant for him to be in the band at that point.
Because it wasn't just about leaving One Direction, it was about what he felt he couldn't do while he was in it.
Yeah. And then we get to what is probably one of the most defining moments of Zayn's entire early solo career, the Fader interview in late 2015.
Yep, because this is where the narrative around him shifts from just former boy band member going solo to something a lot more complicated than that.
In the interview, Zayn talks very openly about not connecting with the music he was making in One Direction.
And instead, he started talking about what he actually wanted to make, which was more of R&B influenced music, more experimental sounds, and just a different kind of artistry than what the band was known for. And this is where the conversation around him really starts to change because it's not just about leaving anymore, it's about why he left.
He's really leaning into this idea of authenticity and artistry, of wanting to make music that felt more aligned with him personally rather than what was expected of a global pop group.
And for a lot of fans, this was the first time they were hearing him frame it like that so explicitly. He even called Wendy's music generic as frick, but the word.
But he used a different word.
A 4-letter word.
He said, and I quote, "There was never any room for me to experiment creatively in the band. If I would sing a hook or a verse slightly R&B or slightly myself, it would always be recorded 50 times until there was a straight version that was pop, generic as We'll bleep that. So they could use that version. Whenever I would suggest something, it was like it didn't fit us. There was a general conception that the management already had of what they want for the band, and I just wasn't convinced with what we were selling. I wasn't 100% behind the music. It wasn't me. It was music that was already given to us, and we were told this is what is going to sell to these people. As much as we were the biggest, most famous boy band in the world, it felt weird. We were told to be happy about something that we weren't happy about.
And the reaction to this was very split. One side, there were fans who completely understood what he was saying, especially if you ever followed One Direction closely. It made sense that different members might have different musical interests.
And for those fans, it felt like Zayn was finally being honest about something that, maybe had actually been true for a long time.
But on the other side, there were fans who felt really hurt by the way it came across, especially the idea that the music they loved, that had meant so much to them, was being framed as something he didn't connect with.
And that's where the tension really comes in, because it's not just about music, it's about identity. It's about fans feeling like something they loved was being reevaluated in real time by one of the people who created it.
And it sparked this really complicated debate across fandom spaces about honesty versus perception and whether artists owe fans a certain framing of their past work.
Especially when you think about how only a couple years earlier, Zayn had said in their movie, that there's that famous interview where he's like, yeah, I'm in a boy band, but I'm in a cool boy band. So even though you could tell it wasn't 100% his vibe, it still seemed like he enjoyed it.
Yeah. So the question that kind of hangs over this entire moment is, was Zayn finally being honest, or was he overcorrecting to distance himself from the band?
Because depending on how you read it, it can feel like either one.
Yeah. And honestly, that tension between those two readings kind of defines this whole era for him.
Yeah. I think, personal take, I do think it was both. I think in that moment, so fresh out of the band, I really do think he was overcorrecting and being aggressive and trying to distance himself. That's why he framed it as generic as fuck and But I do believe you can clearly tell he didn't fully connect with their music. He has such R&B influences and different desires. So I think that both things are true. He truly didn't connect with it, but he was definitely overcorrecting in the moment, because when he speaks on it now, he seems a lot more neutral about One Direction.
Oh, for
he'll
sure.
reflect on the good times and Wendy's importance in his career, even if it was never fully his thing 100%,
I do agree. I do think, they were right in a sense of, if One Direction had gone in an R&B route, I don't think it would have done as well, simply because their audience was young teenage girls. I don't think it would have done well. So I think that was a correct move. And I know they all are very different people.
Yeah.
And Louis has a very different sound than what One Direction was. I think Harry and Niall kind of
it's I
fit
feel like
more
they
into
all it's like they have One Direction as a sort of influence, but they all went different sort of styles of pop One Direction. Zayn definitely went far more
very
R&B. But then Louis has pop background, but then he's got rock and indie and a little bit of I don't know, punk on occasion. And then Niall's got a little bit more folksy, occasionally country, certain influences. And Harry can be pretty pop, but he also pulls in 70s and disco and a lot of different influences there. And Liam was kind of pivoting toward, I don't think, and we'll get into this in later episodes, I don't think Liam ever fully found his sound, which makes me really sad. But in the beginning, he was definitely also pivoting a little bit with pop at the core, but also he had some almost, I don't want to say EDM, but he had more that sort of vibe.
I
get
fully
it.
Yep.
Weaved into it. So they all kind of which is almost nice, because yes, they compete with each other on the charts technically, but I feel like they all do different things that they're not in direct competition.
Exactly.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, for sure. But I wonder if that comes back to they were so conditioned to no one's going to like you if you don't make this certain type of music. So they've all kind of, as they've gotten older, their albums are becoming more authentic and different. But yeah, I think what Zayn said and his feelings are very valid, and
I will
as
say,
a fan,
at
it
the
does.
time I was sad when I read.
I was very upset
in
about
2015. I was oh, I was on the side of yes,
Yes.
I think he is speaking his truth, but I was like, okay, you don't need to be so mean about it.
Yeah,
though.
because and it was like One Direction was my entire life. Like
Yeah.
everything I did was revolved in some way around One
Still
Direction.
is. Yeah.
Exactly. And that music was so important to me
Yeah.
that to hear one of the people who, you know, had a huge influence on my life be like, this music friggin' sucks and
Yeah.
it's generic. And I was like, well, but I really love it.
Well, that's your
So
opinion. Yeah.
that's your opinion.
I think it was also like the fact that he wouldn't be Zayn Malik without One Direction. So I
Yeah.
think it's also like you can't like it's like when Zac Efron used to be weird about High
Yeah.
School Musical. It's like you can't
Yeah.
discredit that. Like it made you who you are.
Yeah.
Even if you don't fully like love the music that came out of it,
Yeah.
you are who you are because of that. So like
Yeah.
calm down.
No. Whereas like the other boys are very much like, I mean, despite Louis saying what makes you beautiful is awful to perform, which I
But you know
can
what?
understand.
I get
I
it.
can fully understand it as like he was already an adult
But
when they
that
started
man
singing it.
also loves One Direction so much.
So
like,
much. They
despite
all
that
like
comment,
freaking
like,
sing. Yeah. He has sang multiple One Direction songs at his shows.
Yeah.
Niall has sang them. Harry has sang them. So like they, even if they don't, you know, love that, that's not who they were at their core. They still have such a huge love and respect for those songs because that's what made them them.
Yeah, agreed. Anyway, so while all this is happening in the background, the interviews, the rebrand, the early solo planning, there's also a very public personal shift unfolding at the same time.
Zayn and Perry Edwards had broken up not long after his departure from the band, and it immediately became a major media storyline.
Yep. There were headlines everywhere, constant speculation, and a lot of public scrutiny around how and why things ended.
And in the middle of that, a lot of fan attention understandably shifted toward Perry, with many fans expressing a lot of sympathy for her throughout the breakup narrative.
It's funny because, like, this was a time when a lot of us were still mad at Zayn. So then we
Yeah.
were like, yeah, let's support Perry. We love Perry. We do love Perry. Like
We do,
side note.
yes.
But, like, Shout Out to My Ex is one of the most iconic songs ever.
Oh,
written.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But anyway.
Iconic.
At the same time, there were also endless rumors about what actually happened, and later on, fans would even start connecting parts of Zayn Solo's music back to that relationship.
But very quickly after that chapter closes publicly, we enter a completely different one.
Yes, because by late 2015, Zayn is first linked to Gigi Hadid.
And this is where the public perception of him starts shifting again. Not just as a musician, but as a full-on celebrity figure.
Yes, there are paparazzi photos, early sightings, and immediately this becomes one of those highly publicized celebrity pairings that people are watching.
It wasn't just fans of One Direction paying attention anymore. It was pop culture at large. Fashion media, entertainment press, everyone was suddenly interested in Zayn in a completely different way.
And this relationship really marks another turning point in how he's being seen publicly.
Because at this stage, he is no longer just framed as ex-boyband member Zayn.
He's starting to become celebrity fashion world Zayn.
And that shift is going to become even more obvious as we move into the Mind of Mine rollout.
So now we get to the moment that officially launches Zayn's solo career, his first single, Pillow Talk, which was released in January 2016.
Yep, and the anticipation for this was huge because this wasn't just any debut solo single. This was the first One Direction member to properly step into a solo era.
When it dropped, it immediately debuted at #1 in multiple countries, and it was clear almost instantly that this wasn't going to sound anything like the music he had been making in the band.
It's darker, it's more alt R&B influenced, and it's very clearly leaning into a completely different sonic identity.
And lyrically, too, it's a big shift. It's more explicit, more adult, and a lot more focused on themes that really weren't part of the One Direction world, really at all.
Yeah, which makes sense because this entire release feels like it's built around a few core ideas: sex appeal, adulthood, freedom, and a very intentional separation from the boy band image he had spent years inside.
It really feels like the beginning of Zayn trying to define himself on his own terms in the most direct way possible.
And then there's the music video, which honestly takes that idea even further.
Visually, it's very psychedelic, lots of neon, smoke, shifting colors, and this really stylized, almost dreamlike aesthetic.
It feels very artsy, very intentional, and very clearly not trying to fit into a traditional pop music video template.
And of course, there are intimate scenes with Gigi Hadid, which immediately made it feel even more personal and high profile at the same time.
It's one of those videos that is very clearly designed to feel like a statement piece.
Because more than anything, it feels like Zayn publicly announcing that he is completely done with the One Direction image.
Which brings us to a bigger question about the whole rebrand. Similar to the Fader interview, was it authentic or was it overcompensation? Or was he just finally stepping into the artist he always wanted to be?
Depending on how you read it, Pillow Talk can be all of those things at once.
Yeah. So after Pillow Talk sets the tone for the era, the rollout into the album itself continues with a few key singles that really start to build out what Mind of Mine is going to sound and feel like.
Next up is It's You, which immediately shifts into a much more emotional and stripped down space. This is definitely one of the darker, more heartbreak-focused songs from the era. It feels quieter, more vulnerable, and much more internal compared to something like Pillow Talk.
And at the same time, there were a lot of fan theories that this was connected to Perry Edwards, especially given the timing and the tone of the song.
The music video also leans fully into that mood. It's very isolated, very minimal, and heavily focused on loneliness and emotional distance.
It's monochrome, it's stripped back, it really reinforces that feeling of emotional detachment that runs through a lot of this early solo material.
Then we get Before, which is where things shift again, both sonically and thematically. This is the one where fandom immediately became obsessed with the title alone because everyone was like, before what? Like, before fame, before One Direction, before everything changed.
Also, it's before, like,
yeah, it's spelled
the letter
like,
4, yeah. I mean, the number 4.
Yeah, it's BEFOUR.
Anyways, I'm clearly lacking sleep. But yeah, it is very interesting considering that is the
title of his last album with One Direction.
Yeah. And that kind of interpretation really speaks to how fans were engaging with this era. Everything felt like it had a hidden meaning.
Yep. And the music video adds to that too. It's filmed in Bradford and it shows boxing gyms, hometown streets, and more grounded everyday visuals.
Feels very personal, like a return to something real and familiar before all the fame and global attention.
So tonally, it sits in a really interesting contrast to Pillow Talk.
Because Pillow Talk is all about celebrity, fantasy, and this heightened, almost surreal world, while Before feels like identity, roots, and where he came from.
And then we also get Like I Would, which kind of sits in between those two extremes. It's, this one's more upbeat, more energetic, and leans into a more electronic, performance-driven sound. It also helps show that the album wasn't going to be one single mood. There were different sides of Zayn being explored here.
Yep. So by the time we get to the album release, we've already seen a few different versions of this era, which really sets the stage for Mind of Mine as a whole because it's not one single identity, it's multiple versions of Zayn all at once.
So now we get into the moment that this entire era has been building toward, Zayn's debut album, Mind of Mine.
Which was released on March 25th, 2016, which is exactly 1 year after he left One Direction.
And even though it was never officially confirmed as intentional, fans absolutely treated it like a statement because it's hard not to read into that timing.
Yeah.
It raises a lot of questions like, was it symbolic? Was it empowering? Did he need closure? Was it pettiness? Or, was it really just poetic timing that we projected meaning onto because of everything that had happened?
I mean, little suspicious if you ask me.
Suspicious.
But either way, it became part of the story.
Yeah, and just to ground us in what this album actually is, here is the track list quickly. We've got Mind of Mine, which is an intro sort of thing. Pillow Talk, It's You, Before, She, Drunk, Intermission, Flower, Rear View, Wrong, featuring Kehlani, Fool for You, Borders, Truth, Lucozade, I don't know if that's the way to pronounce it, that's a British thing, T.O., which I also keep thinking means uncle, but it's an acronym for Take It Off.
And on the deluxe is Blue, Bright, Like I Would, and She Don't Love Me.
Additionally, Mind of Mine is doing something very specific aesthetically. First of all, if you look at it, maybe we'll put up a visual. The stylization of the track names it's very weird. There's like lowercase, uppercase, like mixed casing.
Yeah.
It gives this like Tumblr era, mid 2010s internet aesthetic. Very intentional, very stylized, very mood driven.
Yeah, I think it actually is like really cool.
Yeah. It's kind of confusing though, because like the one that's like what is it? The one I can't pronounce, Lucozade or whatever.
Lucozade.
Because it starts with a lowercase L, I always think that's an I.
I.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's different. Visually, the whole era leans into this moody, almost hazy palette, monochrome tones, neon lighting, soft focus imagery. It feels edgy, but also minimalist. Like the branding is trying to strip everything back to mood and identity rather than pop polish.
Yep. And when you combine that with the sound, this alternative R&B genre blending record, it all feels very cohesive in its own fragmented way.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is how this album was promoted because Zayn didn't do a traditional pop rollout or massive tour schedule.
Instead, it was very selective, high-profile TV performances, award show appearances, and curated live moments.
Like The Tonight Show, The Voice, the iHeartRadio album release show, Wango Tango, and the various one-off appearances.
It was a very controlled presence, not constant visibility, but strategic visibility.
And that actually fits in the overall tone of the era. Everything about it feels intentional, but not overexposed.
Even when he did perform, it wasn't in the same nonstop touring cycle he had just come out of with One Direction.
Which makes this era feel like the opposite of that machine.
So in terms of the actual album itself, Mind of Mine is very much an identity album.
It's not trying to be a collection of singles. In the traditional sense, it's moody, atmospheric, and really focused on texture and emotion. You also have these more experimental and fragmented moments throughout the record that don't necessarily fit in one genre box.
Which in a way is the point because the album itself feels like an argument Zayn is making that he doesn't need to fit into one category anymore.
And critically, that was actually part of why the album was received so positively. People weren't just hearing it as a pop record, they were hearing it as a reinvention and reintroduction.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, a statement that he had fully separated himself from the One Direction era, not just publicly, but artistically. So let's get into our thoughts quickly on the album. And so, in your opinion, what is the best song, do you think?
I consistently listen to Like I Would and Bright. Like those are on my playlist. Like I listen to them very consistently.
Yeah.
So I would say those two.
Yeah, I agree with Like I Would. That's like a bop. That one I do listen to consistently. And I also really love Pillow Talk. Like that one's just such a vibe.
Oh yeah.
Like he really knew what he was doing, making that his like first solo song because it's genuinely so good.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like yes, he is trying to distance himself from pop, but it has the appeal of like a pop song. So he was still getting, his fans to follow him into this like new era by like having this sound that was different, but not so different that we were like scared.
Oh yeah. No, for sure. So. And I really loved Pillow Talk when it came out. Like I was at the point of like, I'm still mad at you.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Then that release,
but
I was like,
so
wait.
Catchy. It was so catchy.
Wait. Like, and it was like we were transitioning from being teenagers to adults. And then it was a more adult sounding song.
Yeah, because that like 2016 was, I think
we were turning 18.
Both turned 18 that year. So it was like, it was
so
right
it was
the transition point.
Yeah, so it was like perfect timing. Like I was like, ooh, I'm an adult. I can sing this song. Like
I'm an adult. I'm moving away from home.
Yeah.
I can listen to Pillow Talk.
Yeah.
Even though I've never once experienced that in my life.
Yeah, same. So we're just
But I digress.
innocent little children, actually.
Great songs. What do you think is the worst song? If you have a
I don't think that I have like an opinion on a worst song. I do think like the intermission and the like intro are really weird simply because I don't listen to albums top to bottom.
Like
so like
if
I put it on shuffle, like in those come up, it would be like set the mood off.
I kind of feel like it was just another way to like elevate his artistry and like seem different. He was like, oh, I'm gonna have like an intro and an intermission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you because I think, again, like, I don't know if worst is the right way to phrase it, but I think that my, like, least favorite, if it counts as, like, a song, is the intermission. Because, one, I can't understand what he's saying.
I think he's speaking...
His voice is pretty.
Isn't it in Arabic?
Is it? Is that why I can't understand it? That would make a lot of sense.
He's like, wow, okay.
I'm like, wow.
That makes so much more sense.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, I think it's in Arabic.
In fact, true.
Don't quote me on that, though, but it is not in English. I am aware of that. Are you Googling?
It's sung in Urdu.
Oh.
But there you go.
Yeah, I was
At
on
least
the
you
right track.
clocked that it was another language. I was just like,
You're like, is he just mumbling?
I was like, what are these? Like, he sounds good, but like,
yeah, it sounds,
what's
it's very pretty.
happening?
And I think that it being in a different language is super cool.
No, that's
because-
very cool.
Yeah.
That's
Now
very
that you
cool.
understand
I've
what's
decided
happening.
to change my mind. That's not the worst song. That's cool. Anyway, he does have a lot of like different genre influences on this, but I do feel like there are some songs that blend together for me. And I would say those are probably like my least favorite, not necessarily the worst, but just like they're not defining moments for me.
Yeah.
You know? Like maybe like Rear View and like some of those.
Yeah. And as a girly who doesn't, you know, vibe with slower songs, I feel like he has a lot of slower songs on this
Yeah, that's true.
album.
That is true. Anyway, what do you think is like the most emotional song?
I would probably say It's You.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's probably common choice if anyone had to choose.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's like it has that loneliness, like heartbreak kind of feeling, and it's conveyed in the way that he sings it.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you watch like the video in like black and white. And like it's just like
Yeah,
one of those
it's
moments
very,
where
yeah,
you're like,
it's emosh.
and if you subscribe to the idea that it's about like Perry
Yeah.
and that relationship and the
Then
heartbreak
yeah.
that came along with it, then you're like, wow,
Oh, for sure.
that hurts.
For sure.
But yeah, I agree. It's You, I think,
Yeah.
is one of the more emotional songs.
Mhm.
As far as underrated, you said this was one of your favorites, so I didn't know
Yes.
that. To me, I thought this one was underrated, but maybe a lot of people like it. Bright, I like it was kind
I
of
do
like a
think it is underrated. Though,
sleeper,
yeah.
like bop. Like
Yeah.
I
love Bright.
didn't realize how good it actually was, and then I was re-listening to the album, and I was like, wait, this one
Yeah.
pops off.
Yeah. Well, I feel like when you hear people talking about Mind to Mind, like you think of Like I Would, Pillow Talk,
Yeah.
you know, the bigger songs on the album. But I freaking love Bright. Like I listen to that song all the time.
Yeah, that's a good one. I
It's
like
a great
it.
song.
Do you have another, like a different one that you think is underrated, perhaps? Another one for me, maybe this will spark it for you, is Fool for You. I think
Oh,
is
yeah.
very good. But I think, like, to me, that one feels very cinematic. Like, whenever I listen
Yes.
to it, I feel like it could be on a movie soundtrack. And maybe it
Well,
is somewhere.
I think it's on.
Is it in a movie soundtrack?
I'm
These are
almost
things that
positive
I'm
it is.
learning. Well, I had this thought without even knowing that, but it did sound very cinematic. Like, it could definitely be used in, like, a rom-com. But anyway,
Movie. I'm looking it up because
that would be crazy if it is. I'm learning a lot today. Feels like it belongs in a movie.
I guess maybe it's not.
Well, it should be, and I should work in sync
I
because
agree.
I would totally put that in a movie.
Yeah, I know I Don't Want to Live Forever is in 50 Shades.
Yes. But we'll get to that at a later time. Anyway, yeah. Those are, and then, okay, the other one, this is not underrated. This is just another thought on the album. The one that we talked about, Lucozade or whatever. I did not know what that meant for a long time. And it was giving like One Direction when they said like polos or Addison Lee. And I was like, I'm not British enough for these things. Like, I don't know what they are. But Lucozade is a British energy drink, apparently.
I did know what Lucozade was because they
Wow.
did in the like beginning days when they would do like their little videos on the X Factor. They
Yeah.
had like a moment with like, what did they call it? They called it something weird, but it was like the bottle was Lucozade.
I
and
feel
they
like
would,
maybe I
drink
just
it and
thought it
be
was Gatorade.
psycho.
I
Yeah,
feel like I thought it
probably.
was Gatorade.
I think
but
it is their
version of Gatorade.
Gatorade. Yeah.
Don't they have Gatorade too, though? Anyway, it doesn't
I
matter.
don't know.
I just didn't fully know what that was. It was one of those things that like
Yeah.
went over my head, and I was like, "What is happening here? I'm too
Yeah.
American for this." All that being said, let us give a quick rating of the albums. Or this album, not the albums. We haven't done all of them yet.
Yeah.
Of Mind of Mine, out of 5 stars. What do you think it is? And this is your personal opinion. This is not, critics level.
I would say, I think I could give it like a solid 3.75.
3.75.
Yeah.
Getting spicy with those
Yeah.
numbers. Yeah. I
was like,
agree.
3.5 is like, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna put like at 3.5, like 3.5, because I think it is a very high quality record. It's a very like huge start for a solo career.
Oh, yeah.
It's like very clear on the direction he's going and the kind of music he wants to make. And as we said, like, Pillow Talk, Like I Would, these are straight bops. And, some of them do blend together for me, so that's why I'm not giving it like full marks. Also,
Mhm.
he's clearly headed in a pretty R&B direction.
Yeah.
And for me personally, and this is just my personal taste, I'm like a
Yeah.
straightforward, like
Pop
bubblegum
girl.
pop
Yeah.
type of girly.
Yeah.
So it's a little outside of my typical realm, which is good.
Mhm.
I'm glad
Yeah.
he's stretching my tastes, but
Yeah.
for me personally, it's got to be like a 3.5, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. And it's simply just because like I don't find myself listening to that genre
Yeah.
as often. There are obviously I have, like I would in Bright on my,
Mhm.
daily playlist that I listen to. So like
Yeah.
there are
It's like
songs
there are
that
like
I
one-offs, but as a whole, I don't listen to it
listen to it.
regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we listened to it again for this episode just
Mm.
because that's typically how we do it before an
Yep.
episode on an album. And I think now, as I'm 28 years old, disgusting, I feel like I do like it a lot more than
Me too.
I had previously
I agree.
as a, young adult.
18-year-old.
Yeah, literally 10
19-year-old.
years ago.
No, that's
Crazy.
so long ago, actually. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I think I do like it more now.
I agree.
Yeah,
Me too.
like we said, we're pop
pretty
girlies,
basic.
and I'm aware of it, and I
am
acknowledge it.
loud and proud about
Yeah.
my basic tastes. So I'm very glad that Zayn actually he stretches that.
Yeah, exactly.
He
for
gives
sure.
me new things to listen to.
Exactly. Mhm.
Anyway, moving on. As we previously mentioned, Zayn didn't follow the traditional album rollout that you would expect from a debut solo artist.
There was no full-scale tour, and instead, the Mind of Mine era was built around a very selective set of performances and appearances.
Yeah. As we mentioned, there were The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, The Voice, iHeartRadio Release Party, Wango Tango, iHeartRadio Music Awards. He did a lot of iHeart stuff. Shout out iHeart.
iHeart. Woo!
That's where I work, everyone, in case you were curious.
In case you were wondering.
Slay. My boss has a photo of Zayn in her office because we have like photos from all our events are in people's office, and she has Zayn. Anyway,
Love
I
that.
digress. King.
But overall, it's a very curated presence, not constant visibility, but very intentional moments.
But underneath that, there's a really important emotional thread to this era, which is anxiety and performance pressure.
Because even though the branding at the time felt very confident, edgy, and in control, Zayn has spoken about how difficult performing actually was for him.
He wasn't comfortable doing a traditional tour cycle, and there were moments where he canceled appearances due to severe anxiety.
And one of the most powerful examples of this comes from the iHeartRadio album release party. He later revealed that he almost didn't go on stage at all that night.
But what changed his mind was seeing photos of fans who had been camping outside overnight just to see him perform. And that moment kind of reframes everything.
Because after all the confidence, the visuals, the rebrand, you realize that fame was still something that deeply overwhelmed him.
Yeah. And it raises a bigger question about this era, which is, did One Direction's schedule permanently change the way he experiences performing? Like the nonstop touring, the lack of privacy, the global scrutiny at such a young age. All of that doesn't just disappear when the band ends.
Yeah.
But, more on that in future episodes. And then, on the other end of the spectrum, we also have one of the most iconic early solo moments that we'll give a quick recap of. The 2016 Met Gala with Gigi Hadid.
This is where Zayn fully steps into the fashion world celebrity space. The robotic arm suit instantly becomes its own conversation piece.
And the entire moment is very high fashion, very stylized, very different from anything associated with his One Direction past.
By this point, he's not just being framed as a musician anymore. He's becoming a full celebrity figure in the fashion and culture space.
And arguably, this is the furthest away from One Direction he has ever felt publicly.
So when you step back and look at the Mind of Mine era as a whole, it was undeniably successful.
Commercially, it debuted at #1 in multiple countries. Critically, it was generally very well received, especially for its direction and vocal performance. Obviously, his vocals remain insane. And culturally, it completely reframed how he was perceived.
But underneath all of that success, there were still very clear patterns emerging: anxiety around performing, discomfort with traditional touring, and a very selective approach to public visibility, which makes this era feel a little more complex in hindsight.
Because yes, he achieved creative control, he achieved artistic freedom, and he achieved independence from One Direction.
But escaping One Direction didn't necessarily mean escaping the pressures that came with fame itself.
Period. And
That's it.
Mind of Mine, Zayn's debut solo era, from the immediate aftermath of leaving One Direction to the rebrand to Pillow Talk. and the moment he officially stepped into a completely new artistic identity.
In the next Zayn episode, we will continue his solo journey. I Don't Want to Live Forever with Taylor Swift, changing public perception, and his sophomore album, Icarus Falls.
But before that, we're getting into the other boys as well. Season 2 of What Makes You Fangirl will follow the chronological order of their solo album releases, which means next time we're covering the HS1 era.
Ooh, I'm so excited.
Exciting.
So exciting. I love HS1. So make sure you're subscribed. And if you loved this episode, like, rate, and follow the show wherever you're listening. You can also find us on Instagram at What Makes You Fangirl and on TikTok at WMYF Podcast for clips, updates, and bonus content.
And while you're there, tell us what your Mind of Mine favorite track is, or what moment of this era, defined it for you, or, just what's making you fangirl this week. We want to hear it.
And remember, life is too short not to freak out on the things you love. It's totally okay to fangirl a little too much.
Bye.
Bye.